He kissed me as if I were significant, and I reacted as though I truly believed it. As we finally entered my bedroom, it was not desire that guided us, but a profound sense of understanding. Each motion unfolded with deliberate slowness, every exhale resonating with sincerity. His hand glided beneath the fabric of my blouse with a certain elegance that made me feel beautiful, transcending mere desire. As he removed my garments, it was not driven by a primal desire. It was a gesture of consent, steeped in respect. No one had ever caressed me in such a way, not even the man to whom I had once vowed my existence. Thomas examined my body as if he were committing it to memory, not for the sake of pleasure, but in search of significance. Welcome to the realm of emotional love stories. Remember to give the video a thumbs up, share your insights in the comments, and subscribe to keep up with our newest narratives. May you find joy in tranquil, soothing moments. My sincere gratitude to you. Now, let us set forth on the adventure that awaits within the tale. His name was Thomas, a companion of my late father, though that term, companion, never fully conveyed the depth of their bond. Nearly a decade had slipped by since my father's passing, and Thomas lingered on the edges of my life, close enough to offer a word of comfort, yet distant enough to respect the boundaries of my grief. I had once called him Uncle Thomas, yet over the years, we both quietly abandoned the title without uttering a single word. He bore himself with the quiet dignity of one who had faced loss yet refused to be defeated by it, his sharp jawline framed by a salt and pepper beard, and warm hazel eyes that held their secrets close, revealing little of his inner thoughts. His presence exuded grace, yet it carried a weight, the sort that stemmed from a life lived deeply and with unflinching honesty. Years had passed since our last one-on-one conversation, yet that week transformed everything. When my water heater unexpectedly burst, I found myself in a predicament. Living alone, I was grateful when Thomas stepped in to lend a hand. He possessed a deftness in his hands, exuded tranquility in the face of adversity, and had an innate ability to render your panic utterly absurd. By the third day, the house began to transform, shedding its identity as a mere construction zone and evolving into a canvas for memories being delicately rewritten. I found myself crafting justifications to linger in the same space as he toiled away. I would feign immersion in the pages, all the while stealing furtive glances. His hands captivated me, powerful and exact, accustomed to executing tasks with unwavering precision. He rarely uttered more than what was essential, yet when he chose to speak, his words carried the weight of careful contemplation, as if each syllable had been meticulously considered before being released into the air. "You are unlike most women your age," he remarked one evening, his gaze fixed on the task at hand as he fiddled with the new pipe beneath the kitchen sink. "You pay attention, not merely perceive." I found myself at a loss for words in response to that. It was, in truth, a remark that danced on the edge of flattery, yet fell short of genuine praise. It was a keen observation, and for some inexplicable reason, it held greater significance. I replied with caution. "Perhaps I have come to recognize the significance of what truly counts." His gaze locked onto mine, a silent intensity lingering, stretching beyond the bounds of mere casualness. In that moment, the silence that enveloped us carried an unmistakable weight. The following day, he arrived bearing pastries. "Do you have a fondness for almond croissants?" He extended the bag as if it were a mere trifle. Yet it was far from nothing. Once, many months ago, I brought it up during a family brunch. I grasped the bag, my fingers lightly brushing against his. Silence enveloped us, yet an unspoken understanding lingered in the air. That evening, we gathered in the living room, unencumbered by the pretense of broken plumbing. Soft jazz floated through the air, characterized by a languid saxophone and an abundance of silence between the notes. I extended a glass of wine to him. He declined, asserting he needed to drive, yet his hand hovered over the glass for a moment too long, as if caught in a silent conflict. I recounted the tale of my shattered engagement, the way silence had woven itself into the fabric of my relationship with someone who was meant to be my eternal companion. Thomas refrained from offering any counsel. He simply absorbed my words, truly absorbed them, and when my voice faded into silence, he uttered something that unraveled me. At times, we find ourselves choosing companions who align with our ambitions rather than those who resonate with our true emotions. The words flowed with an authenticity that suggested spontaneity. They experienced existence. In the days that followed, an indescribable connection began to form between us. It transcended the boundaries of conventional flirtation. Neither suggestion nor lingering looks. It unfolded with a languid grace, a profound rhythm akin to a dance performed in silence. The manner in which he passed me the tools, the way I prepared his coffee to his exact preference, the fleeting moments when our hands would touch and linger just a heartbeat longer than necessary. One afternoon, I ventured out onto the porch where he sat, a cigarette in hand, indulging in a rare habit he permitted himself only in times of stress. "You realize this isn't the best choice for you," I remarked, attempting to keep my tone light. He gazed at me, the smoke swirling elegantly around his features. "Most endeavors," he replied, "hold little value, yet we continue to engage in them." Uncertainty lingered in my mind, leaving me to ponder whether he was referring to smoking or the complexities of what was unfolding between us, perhaps a combination of the two. That evening, I lingered before the mirror, lost in thought far longer than I typically would. My blouse adhered to my form in ways I once longed it would not. My face carried the delicate traces of existence, not merely the passage of time. For the first time in years, I perceived myself not as someone diminishing, but as someone evolving. Awakening to consciousness, embracing openness, embracing peril. I was acutely aware that I was toying with danger. He had seen more years, the companion of my father. A man whose history intertwined perilously with my own. Yet I was aware of another truth. He caught sight of me. Neither the courteous daughter nor the mature offspring. He beheld the woman I had transformed into, and more perilously, the woman I remained fearful of becoming. As the sun dipped below the horizon the following evening and we tidied away the final remnants of our work, I discovered myself uttering thoughts that had not been premeditated. "Surely, you don't need to leave just yet, do you?" He halted, his gaze probing into mine, seeking an unvoiced connection. "No," he murmured softly, "I do not." In an instant, the atmosphere surrounding us shifted. He remained. He refrained from taking a seat right away, nor did he extend his hand for another cup of coffee or pretend to feel at ease. He lingered in silence for what felt like an eternity, the soft murmur of the evening enveloping us in a delicate embrace. In the stillness, a weighty understanding hung between us, as if we both recognized that once this moment slipped away, we could never revert to our former selves. I strolled deliberately to the window, feigning an adjustment of the blinds, granting myself a moment to inhale deeply. The intensity of his gaze lingered just behind me, a palpable presence that I could sense without turning around. Not aggressive, there is no immediate need for action, yet here, intensely, profoundly here, and in some inexplicable way, that disturbed me more than anything else ever could. "You seem on the verge of reconsidering," he murmured gently, remaining perfectly still. With deliberate slowness, I pivoted my body. I find myself in contemplation, concerning what matter, contemplating whether this, us, or whatever is unfolding constitutes a blunder. He nodded once, as though he had posed the very same question to himself. "It could be," he stated with simplicity, "yet there are moments when our errors are the truest expressions of our existence." That response resonated deeply, not due to its audacity, but because it reflected a raw and relatable humanity. For an eternity, I had treaded lightly through life, bound by guidelines, in a manner that commands respect, with a sense of detachment. Yet that moment shattered something within me, not with violence, but with genuine emotion. I approached with deliberate calm, each step measured and assured. "Speak to me honestly," I urged, my tone softer than I had meant it to be. "Have you ever pondered this before now?" He moved forward without a moment's pause. "Indeed, what is the duration?" Prolonged to the point of embarrassment, and even longer to shed the weight of shame. A warmth surged within me, creeping up to my chest. His words unfolded like a confession. There was one that left me questioning my own bravery to reply, yet I found no necessity to respond. My body acted on pure instinct. I extended my hand and brushed the contours of his cheek, coarse bristles beneath my touch. A texture that brought me back to the undeniable truth of reality, dispelling any notion of a dream. He remained steadfast. He leaned gently into my hand, his eyes fluttering shut for a fleeting moment, as though my touch bestowed upon him a solace he had long withheld from himself. As he opened them, a gentle warmth emerged, revealing an unspoken longing. It was not mere lust, nor the thrill of conquest, but rather a profound yearning for connection that transcended the physical realm. "You are trembling," he murmured. "I understand," I replied, my voice wavering, though not out of fear. He lifted his hand to mine, which lingered on his cheek, and kept it there. We remained there, mere inches apart, allowing the silence between us to convey what words failed to express. And then, gradually, he leaned in, neither hurried nor forceful, but like a man posing a question with his intent unfolding. My hand settled on his shoulders, and he embraced my waist as if I were both delicate and revered in that moment. We took our time. Every detail of that night flowed with purpose. His touch was intentional, filled with respect. There was a calmness to the scene, devoid of any hurried disrobing or awkward mishaps. Rather, there was a connection through the gaze. There existed a breath. The silence spoke volumes, conveying meanings beyond the reach of mere words. He kissed me as if I were significant, and I reacted as though I truly believed it. As we finally entered my bedroom, it was not desire that guided us, but a profound sense of understanding. Each motion unfolded with deliberate slowness, every exhale resonating with sincerity. His hand glided beneath the fabric of my blouse with a certain elegance that made me feel beautiful, transcending mere desire. As he removed my garments, it was not driven by a primal desire. It was a gesture of consent, steeped in respect. No one had ever caressed me in such a way, not even the man to whom I had once vowed my existence. Thomas examined my body as if he were committing it to memory, not for the sake of pleasure, but in search of significance. His lips followed the delicate curve of my collarbone, glided along the gentle slope of my stomach, and brushed against the tender skin of my wrist. He frequently halted, allowing me the opportunity to retreat. Yet I never did, not a single time. For the first time in years, I experienced a sense of safety that encompassed not only my physical being, but also my emotional state. He possessed age and wisdom, yet he never wielded those qualities as a weapon against me. He allowed me to take the reins while remaining steadfastly present. As he entered me, it was not a burst of chaos, but rather a gentle surrender, a union of two souls who had borne their individual scars in silence for far too long. The cadence we discovered was not robotic. It flowed with a natural essence. He flowed alongside me rather than imposing himself upon me. Our breaths synchronized, our hearts decelerated, and in the stillness I sensed a fissure within me, an awakening of something I had not realized was still confined. He pressed his lips to my forehead as we shifted, gently tucking a wayward strand of hair behind my ear, murmuring phrases that seemed nonsensical yet resonated like sacred text. "You are here," he whispered softly. "Your presence is undeniably felt." We reached our peak in unison, gradually and profoundly, devoid of any theatrics. And when it concluded, he did not withdraw or retreat. He lingered, enveloping me as if he were securing our very souls together. In the stillness that followed, I laid my head against his chest, attuned to the rhythm of his heartbeat. The sound was unwavering, genuine, a melody etched in my memory, destined to accompany me in my solitary moments for all my days to come. Text. I finally broke the silence, my voice trembling as I admitted, "I do not know what this means." He inclined his head in acknowledgement. "I share the same sentiment. Yet I harbor no regrets." He glanced in my direction, his gaze gentle yet resolute. "I share the same sentiment." In that instant, I became aware of a truth that unsettled me more profoundly than any corporeal experience ever might. It was not about our actions. It revolved around the emotions we had permitted ourselves to experience. Openness to the world, a longing that stirs the soul, anticipation. We lingered in silence for hours, exchanging few words, merely inhaling and exhaling. Occupying the same space, two individuals had ventured beyond a boundary, discovering something unforeseen in the aftermath. Neither guilt nor shame, but rather a sense of clarity. As he stepped away, the first light of dawn began to break. He pressed his lips to my shoulder while I feigned slumber, then slipped into his clothes with a gentle hush. I observed him through a veil of half-closed eyes, etching the rhythm of his movements into my memory as he navigated the shadows. He lingered in the doorway, pausing for what felt like an eternity before finally stepping out. Uncertainty clouded his thoughts, yet my own clarity remained unwavering. I had allowed someone to enter my life, not merely into my bed, but woven into the fabric of my narrative. And that tale had now transformed forever, exquisitely, entirely. The hours that followed his departure felt empty and devoid of meaning. The sheets retained his scent, subtle hints of cologne lingering in the atmosphere, intertwining with the warmth of our shared moments. I reclined in stillness, my gaze fixed upon the ceiling, caught in a limbo between feeling vibrantly alive and utterly unraveled. The echo of his touch lingered in my body, yet my mind started to whirl in a silent tempest of uncertainty. It was not regret, not precisely, but a profound, throbbing uncertainty that enveloped me like a second skin. I had ventured beyond the boundaries, a line I had never even conceived of until it was already in my past. What filled me with dread was not the actions we took, but the unsettling sense of correctness that enveloped us in that fleeting moment. I glided through the house, a specter in the shadows, steering clear of the mirror, unable to confront the reflection of the woman who had at last confessed her yearning for something beyond mere safety. Each sound resonated with an intensity that seemed to amplify in the silence. The floor let out a soft creak. The soft, persistent hum of the refrigerator fills the room. The rhythmic ticking of the kitchen clock. They all served as a reminder that time continued its relentless march, even as something within me had irrevocably changed. With hands that quivered, I prepared the tea, yet found myself unable to take a sip. My mouth felt parched, my throat constricted, as though one small sip could unleash all that I had labored to hold back throughout the years. I repeatedly reassured myself that it was merely one night, merely one decision. Yet the way he gazed at me, slow, deliberate, purposeful, was not something I could dismiss as a fleeting whim or an error. He had glimpsed the real me, not the refined facade I presented to the world, nor the capable, ever-composed woman who meticulously cataloged her emotions and kept them at bay. He had reached the part of me concealed beneath the weight of obligation and trepidation, and in that moment, it felt infinitely more personal than the act of intimacy itself. The peril lay in the undeniable truth that I could not feign indifference to its significance. The following day passed in silence, as did the one that followed. Every hour of silence elongated, surpassing the duration of the one that preceded it. I caught myself glancing at my phone with an almost frantic urgency, my thumb poised above our final exchange. The logical side of me murmured that this was the preferable path, neat and confined, yet the other side, the one recently stirred, longed for recognition. I had allowed someone to enter my life, and now their absence lingered like an open wound, raw and aching. I longed to think that his decision to give me space stemmed from a place of respect, yet a small, tenacious part of me couldn't shake the fear that he was pulling away, already reinterpreting our encounter as a mere lapse in judgment instead of a genuine moment of truth. On the fourth day, I found myself truly coming apart at the seams. For 2 consecutive days, I donned the same robe. Dishes remain abandoned in the sink. As I gazed at the books lining my shelf, the intricate plots seemed to elude my memory. It seemed as though a lifetime had unfolded within the span of a single night, and now the world anticipated my return to the person I once was, yet I found that I could not comply. A profound change had taken place. I had allowed myself to experience emotions, and now I found it impossible to erase them. I found myself not yet in love with him, but I had experienced a sensation too intense, too exquisite to dismiss, and with that realization emerged a sense of trepidation. What if it had held greater significance for me than it ever did for him? What if I were the sole bearer of the emotional burden for something that had only stirred him on a physical level? What if I had confused compassion with true connection? As the night unfolded in my mind, I found myself questioning every detail, scrutinizing each moment with an unforgiving gaze. Was his touch genuinely reverent, or was I merely so starved for affection that I infused it with significance? Were his words sincere, or was I merely a woman naive enough to think that an older man could recognize something in me that others had failed to notice? Yet, amidst the turmoil of those thoughts, a discord lingered, for the truth of them eluded me, as the memory of the gaze in his eyes when my fingers brushed his face surfaced vividly. The moment hung in the air, marked by the stillness of his breath, as I confessed my lack of regret. I recalled the way he embraced me afterward, long after the flames of desire had faded, as if I were more than just a fleeting moment, as if I were someone deserving of his presence. Yet his silence lingered like a gradual torment. I found myself growing resentful towards him, for lingering in my thoughts yet absent from my reality, for awakening something within me only to vanish into the haze of grown-up obligations and courteous evasion. I reassured myself that his presence was unnecessary, that I possessed the strength to navigate this journey on my own. Yet, as darkness enveloped the world and silence settled within the walls, a deep yearning for him stirred in me, a feeling that brought with it a tinge of shame. I had always taken great pride in my ability to be self-contained and self-sufficient. Yet here I was, coming undone. For one man had looked upon me, reached out, and ignited a flicker of hope that I could still be desired. On the 5th day, just as I had started to persuade myself that it was all behind me, that I would never receive another message from him, my phone buzzed, a single message. Without any introduction, there are no justifications, only a mere 6 words. Would it be possible for us to meet this evening? Kindly. My gaze lingered on the screen until the light gradually dimmed and vanished. My heart raced within me, not solely from the thrill of hope, but also from the grip of fear, for I understood that uttering a yes would signify an acceptance of the truth, that what transpired between us was more than a fleeting spark, more than a mere release. It was the dawn of something new. Every new chapter demands a brave heart, the type of bravery I had concealed beneath layers of obligation and silent refusal. I crafted a straightforward response, yes. Subsequently, it was erased. I've written it down once more, but I must have a conversation before proceeding. And I dispatched it, fully aware that I could not allow myself to slip into the realm of unspoken words once more. Clarity was what I sought, not certainty, not promises, but the essence of the emotional truth we had woven together that night. If he were unable to provide that, I would turn and leave. I found it necessary. Yet if he had the power to reach me in that fragile state, caught between despair and optimism, I was certain I would surrender to the plunge. Not due to my recklessness, but rather because, after an extended period, I found myself ready to embrace the possibility of feeling once more. The day Thomas reached out to me once more was the very instant my soul had longed for, a moment that at last ushered in tranquility. His voice retained the same sweetness it once possessed, yet now it resonated with a deeper, more profound understanding. We engaged in a candid exchange, revealing emotions that seemed beyond the reach of mere words. I shared with him my struggle to comprehend the transformations occurring within me, and he grasped my hand softly, saying, "We are embarking on a new journey together, filled with fresh emotions and challenges ahead. We cast aside our past and forged a bond rooted not just in feelings, but in mutual understanding and respect." Thomas transcended the role of mere acquaintance. He emerged as my source of strength, my solace, and a guiding light toward a new journey ahead. We understood that our journey would be fraught with challenges, yet we stood prepared to traverse it together, regardless of where it might lead us. After what felt like an eternity, I finally glimpsed a light in my life once more, a light that rekindles the connection to my authentic self. This self, unburdened by fear, welcomes both joy and sorrow. Above all, it reminds me that remaining true to oneself is the ultimate priority, regardless of the circumstances that unfold. As I gaze into the mirror, I perceive not merely my reflection, but a narrative that is perpetually unfolding, a tale that evolves, transforms, and continually seeks to understand itself. Whether Thomas is by my side or not, I have come to understand that the most vital connection is the one we forge with our own hearts, a bond that remains timeless and always true.